What if I told you you could automate any business process? What if I told you you needed zero technical experience in order to do so? We are going to cover exactly that in this step-by-step guide to creating a scheduled cloud flow with Copilot. I'll be sure to share all the tips and tricks that I have learned when using Copilot to create cloud flows for me. So be sure to follow along. Roll the intro. AI is changing the world as we know it, and Microsoft is bringing that functionality through Copilot into the Power Automate Maker portal. Let's see how we can utilize Copilot to create a scheduled cloud flow using natural language. So if we go ahead and navigate to the Power Automate Maker portal, you can find this in the description down below. First thing you're going to notice is the top half of the web page has a dedicated Copilot section. This is going to outline different prompts and as well have a chat window where you can type in a prompt and then generate a cloud flow. It is important to know that you're not going to be able to create a Power Automate with Copilot if you are in the Power Apps Maker portal. The Power Apps Maker portal, you're going to see something similar, but that's only going to be able to create Canvas apps. So our ask is, I'm a manager and I want all of my team members to be given an email Monday at 8 a.m. I'll be honest, if my manager did this, I might not like him, but that is the ask and what we're doing today. So we need to create a scheduled flow. So our prompt today is going to be every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern, we want to send an email to all of our team members. Once you have your prompt typed out, go ahead and select generate. This is now going to be where you can see Copilot is working its magic, and it's going to create you a flow skeleton or a flow template in a matter of seconds. So here we have a flow template. We have our reoccurrence trigger, which is amazing. And then we have a get my profile for the Office 365 users, and then the list group members in an Office 365 group, and then for each of those group members, we want to send an email. Now, I don't want to use an Office 365 connector. I want to use a Dataverse connector in the users table. Sometimes if you give it a prompt, it might actually give you different suggestions, and in the bottom left it will say ask for a second suggestion, and that way you can kind of click through those and see if there's another template that might be better for you. The prompt that I gave it did not generate another template. I'm going to go ahead and say that this skeleton is good enough for us, and I'm going to update it after. So let's go ahead and click next, and then it's going to ask for our credentials, the connections. We're going to then hit create flow. It is then going to bring the template it just showed you into this new Power Automate designer. If we go ahead and click on our trigger action, the reoccurrence, you can see that it is currently set to trigger every Monday at 8 a.m. Eastern. This was all done by Copilot from my prompt. Doesn't require any additional configuration. Now, as I said previously, I don't want to use the Office 365 connectors. I want to use the Dataverse connectors. Let's see if Copilot can update this for us. So I'm going to go ahead and select our first action, the get my profile. And I'm going to navigate down to the Copilot chat window. And I'm going to tell Copilot specifically, change this action to be a Dataverse action. So I'm going to call out the action specifically as well as having it highlighted. Doing this will allow Copilot to understand exactly what you're talking about. We do have to remember that this is in preview, and so as this is currently being developed and updated, it's only going to get better and better and be a little more fail-proof. If you're too vague or you don't explicitly talk about the action, then you're going to get an error message back saying, sorry, I'm not sure what exactly you're talking about. So for example, if I just would have said use Dataverse instead of Office 365, it would have failed because it wouldn't have had any context for what I was talking about. But because I specifically called out update this action to use Dataverse, it was able to understand what I was doing. You can see here that now after a few seconds, it actually changed the connection of our action to now use Dataverse and the get a row by ID. Let's go ahead and do the same thing to our list group members action and make sure that's using a list rows in Dataverse as well. So if I go ahead and type out change the list group members action to use Dataverse, I can submit that, and after a few seconds, you will see that Copilot is understanding what I'm trying to tell it to do. And here we go, we have our list views action in there. Now let's take off our technical hats and just put on the conceptual hats for a second. After looking at our flow and our template, I'm beginning to think that we don't actually need this first get a row by ID action. The reason for this is the ask is to send an email to all users who have a specific manager. And in order to keep our flow leaner so that it can be processed faster, I think it's more reasonable to have this flow go directly to the list rows action and list all of the user records whose manager equals the specific manager we're talking about. So let's go ahead and see if Copilot can remove my get a row by ID action. So let's go ahead and type into Copilot, remove the get a row by ID action. If I submit that, then after a few seconds, you're going to see that it's going to remove that. And now our flow is going to be a little bit leaner. It's going to speed up the process just that much more. It is still important to note that you don't have to use Copilot to do everything for you. You can still update all of these things automatically. But the reason this is so groundbreaking is Copilot brings the technical to the non-technical. You don't have to know expressions or different dynamic content or schema names. You just can tell Copilot what to do. So let's say, for example, I'm going to go ahead and update the table because we want to look at the users table. But I'm not too sure what the schema would be or the filtering criteria would be to only find users whose manager is a specific person. So let's go ahead and really test Copilot here in building our list rows action in our flow. So again, I want to bring attention to calling out the specific parameter on the specific action that we want Copilot to update. If I were to just say something along the lines of only find team members whose manager is Griffin, it would have no idea what I'm talking about because the flow is looking at the users table, not team members. It doesn't have any context for which action I'm specifically talking about. It may not understand that the manager field is a lookup on the users table. So all of these things you want to try to safeguard in how you talk to Copilot. I would recommend saying something along the lines of update the filter rows, which is the parameter, on the list rows action, which is the action, to only list users whose manager is Griffin Lickfell. So again, going with the example, we want to find all of the users whose manager lookup is me. I did notice this one took substantially more time than our previous submissions, and I accidentally said if Griffin Lickfell instead of is Griffin Lickfell. But sure enough, after a few seconds, if I go ahead and click on our list rows action, you can see that it updated the filter criteria to only search where the manager ID's name is Griffin Lickfell. So our email is currently nested in a for each. Let's just confirm that this for each is doing exactly what we want. If we go ahead and click on the for each, you can see that yes, this is doing the body value of our list rows. That's exactly what we want. For each value from the list rows query, we want to send an email. So the last thing to do is to update our email action with the contents we want it to say. Let's go ahead and click on our email and see what we're missing. You can see here that in the to, it is using the mail field, but we don't want to use the mail field. We want to use the out-of-the-box primary email field. So I could go ahead and delete this and then navigate through the dynamic content, or I could just tell Copilot to update it for me. So I'm going to go ahead and tell Copilot to update the to, again outlining our parameter, for the send an email action to use primary email address. Something that is nice is Copilot will pick up if you are talking about a display name or a schema name. So I don't have to explicitly say, hey, use internal email address. I could just say use the primary email. After a few seconds of Copilot working its magic, you can see that if I now click on the send an email action and navigate back up to the to, it is now using the internal email address, which is the schema for primary email. And now that is good to go. Before our email can be sent, we need to update the subject and the body. And you already know we're going to use Copilot to do this. Let's have our email subject say Happy Monday. So you can see that the subject and body can be updated using Copilot on an email action. So as a manager, I want to tell my team every Monday morning at 8 a.m. that I have no reason to be messaging them, just that I want them to have a good week. So let's go ahead and type out our email body here. Again, we are just having fun with this. But let's say here we have our email body. Our flow is now completely configured. We just have to save and test it. I hope you're beginning to see how insane this technology is. You don't need any technical experience on the Power Platform to begin automating processes for your business. But if you think all of this is cool, you can actually create automated cloud flows with Copilot. Be sure to check out this step-by-step guide on how to do that. My name is Griffin Lickfeld. Thank you guys so much for seeing the end of the video. I love your support. I'm excited to connect with you guys in the next one.